Okay, so today we are going to be reading this book called Those Shoes by Maribeth Boylitz. And I love this book, Those Shoes. It's a really good book to teach us about something that we want versus something that we need, which is a really good time right now for us to think about. And it's also a really good book to teach us about empathy. And with empathy, remember, that's one of our star values. So we're thinking about how others might feel and how our actions affect other people, okay? So let's read Those Shoes. I'm very excited. I have dreams about those shoes. Black high tops, 2 white stripes. Grandma, I want them. There's no room for one around here, just need, Grandma says. And what you need are new boots for winter. Brandon T comes to school in those shoes. He says he's the fastest runner now. Not me. I was always the fastest runner before those came along. Nate comes to school in those shoes. Antonio and I count how many times Nate goes to the bathroom. 7 times in one day. Just so he can walk up and down in the halls real slow. Next, Alan, Jacoby, and Terrence each get a pair. So if we look at our narrator and he's looking at everyone with those shoes, how do you think he might be feeling? Then, one day, in the middle of kickball, one of my shoes come apart. Looks like you could use a new pair, Jeremy, Mr. Alfrey, the guidance counselor, says. He brings out a box of shoes and other stuff he has for kids who need things. He helps me find the only shoes that are my size, Velcro, like the ones my little cousin Marshall wears. They have an animal on them from a cartoon I don't think any kid ever watched. So now we know our main character's name. When I come back to the classroom, Alan Jacoby takes one look at my Mr. Alfrey shoes and laughs. So do Terrence, Brandon T, and everyone else. The only kid not laughing is Antonio Parker. At home, Grandma says, "How kind of Mr. Alfrey." I nod and turn my back. I'm not going to cry about my dumb shoes. But when I'm writing my spelling words later, every word looks like the word shoes. And my grip is so tight on my pencil, I think it might bust. So that's when our main character, Jeremy, has walked into the classroom and everyone's laughing at him. That's not very kind, right? So how do we think Jeremy might be feeling? And remember, only one person is not laughing at him. On Saturday, Grandma says, "Let's check out those shoes you wanting to so much. I got a little bit of extra money set aside. Might be enough, you never know." At the shoe store, Grandma turns those shoes over so she can check the price. When she sees it, she sits back down, heavy. "Maybe they wrote it down wrong," I say. Grandma shakes her head. Then I remember the thrift shop. What if there's a rich kid who outgrew his or got 2 pairs for Christmas and had to give one of them away? We ride the bus to the first thrift shop. Black cowboy boots, pink slippers, sandals, high heels, every kind of shoe except the ones I want. We ride the bus to the second thrift shop. Not a pair of those shoes in sight. Around the corner is a third thrift shop. I see something in the window. Black shoes with 2 white stripes, high tops, perfect shapes, $2.50. Those shoes. My heart is pounding hard as I take off my shoes and hitch up my baggy socks. How exciting, Grandma says. What size are they? I shove my foot into the first shoe, curling my toes to get my heels in. I don't know, but I think they fit. Grandma kneels on the floor and feels for my toes at the end of the shoe. Oh, Jeremy, she says, I can't spend good money on shoes that don't fit. I pull the other shoes on and try to walk around. They're okay, I said, holding my breath and praying that my toes will fall off right then and there. But my shoes don't fall off. But my toes don't fall off. I buy them anyways with my own money. And I squeeze them on and limp to the bus stop. So, do the shoes actually fit Jeremy? Right? Do the shoes actually fit him? Why does he want them so bad even if they don't fit? That's not very comfortable for him, right? At home, a few days later, Grandma puts a new pair of snow boots in my closet and doesn't say a word about my 2 big feet shuffling around in my 2 small shoes. Sometimes shoes stretch, I say. Grandma gives me a hug. I check every day, but those shoes don't stretch. I have to wear my Mr. Alfre's to school instead. One day during math, I glance at Antonio's shoes. One of them is taped up and his feet look smaller than mine. After school, I head to the park to think Antonio is there, the only kid who didn't laugh at me, at my Mr. Alfre shoes. We shoot baskets and loose pieces of tape on Antonio's shoe smacks the concrete every time he jumps. I think I'm going to do it. We leap off the swings. I'm not going to do it. We race from end to end of the playground the other day. I'm not going to do it, I say. Do what? Antonio says, breathing hard. What do we think Jeremy is thinking about doing? What do we think Jeremy might think about doing? Grandma calls me for supper and invites Antonio over too. After supper, he spies my shoes. How come you don't wear them? Antonio says. I shrug. My hands are sweaty. I can feel him wishing those shoes were his. That night, I'm awake for a long time thinking about Antonio. When morning comes, I try on my shoes one last time. Before I change my mind, the shoes are in my coat. Snow is beginning to fall as I run across the street to Antonio's apartment. I put the shoes in front of his door, push the doorbell, and run. So there's Jeremy running, and there's Antonio opening his door. At school, Antonio is smiling, big in his brand new shoes. I feel happy when I look at his face. And man, when I look at my Mr. Alfre shoes, But later, when it's time for recess, something happens. Everywhere there's snow. "Leave your shoes in the hall and change into your boots," the teacher announces. Leave your shoes in the hall? It's when I remember what I have in my backpack. New boots! New black boots that no kid has ever worn before. Standing in line to go to recess, Antonio leans forward and says, "Thanks." I smile and give him a nudge.